Is intelligent design really science? Richard Dawkins, a professor of the public understanding of science at Oxford and arguably the best known Darwinist, on the planet, claims those who do not believe in evolution are ignorant, stupid, or insane. In place of rhetoric and emotional stereotypes, intelligent design ID proponents hold to reason and empirical science. First, ID proponents are willing to follow scientific evidence wherever it leads. ID theorists neither presuppose nor preclude supernatural explanations for the phenomena they encounter in an information-rich universe. As such, the ID movement rightly practices open-minded science. Furthermore, ID begins with the common scientific principle that intelligent design is detectable wherever there is specified, organized complexity information. This design principle is central to many scientific fields, including archaeology, forensic pathology, crime science investigation, cryptology, and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. When applied to an information-rich DNA, irreducible complex of biological systems, the Copernican explosion, as well as the fact that the Earth is perfectly situated in the Milky Way for both life and scientific discovery. The existence of intelligent designers is the most plausible scientific explanation. Finally, although it conclusions are not worldview neutral, ID lends no more support to Christian theism than Darwinian evolution lends to atheism. Thus, the appropriateness of ID for public education ought to be judged on the basis of the theory's explanatory powers, not on its metaphysical implications. How else can we show the wonders of God? By being people of science and scripture. Can people of science be people of scripture? The rationalization that revelation is the key to knowledge led medieval thinkers to crown theology. Queen of the Science, Peter Paul Rubin, elegantly illustrates this truth in the 7th century painting entitled "The Triumph of the Eucharist." Standing in a chariot propelled by angelic beings was theology. Walking alongside were philosophy, wise and grizzly veteran in science, a newcomer in the cosmic conversation. The point of the painting is this: theology is never absent philosophy and science, but philosophy and science. But philosophy and science absent theology. Your exhaustion leads to the blind ditch of ignorance. And Peter Paul Rubin was not the only one convinced of this truth. First, Leonardo da Vinci, widely considered to be the real founder of Modern science was deeply committed to scriptural truth. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. Likewise, Robert Boyle is the father of modern chemistry, as well as the great physical science of his or her any other generation. Was an able apologist for the genus account of origins. Furthermore, Sir Isaac Newton, a remarkable and intelligent intellect who developed calculus, discovered the law of gravity, and designed the first reflecting telescope, diligently defending the biblical account of creation. Louis Pasteur, best known for developing the concept of pasteurization and demolishing the concept of spontaneous generation, underscores the power of revelation, undermines the evidence of the absurdities of Darwinian's evolution. But finally, the variable host of stars in the constellation of scientific discovery were people of science and people of God. Johannes Kepler, astronomy; Francis Bacon, a scientific method; Blaise Pascal, mathematics and philosophy; Rulus Linnaeus, biological taxonomy; Gregor Mendel, geneticist; Michael Faraday, electromagnetics; Joseph Lister, antiseptic surgery; Clarence Swain, medicine. These men and women were deeply committed to both scripture and imperial science. As such, they not only unpacked revelation with the book of nature, but were likewise illuminated by the truth of biblical revelation. Complicated names, but all people of science and faith. Ways can we show forth the wonders of God by studying the book of nature and scripture and sharing your understanding and clarity of what you discovered from the book of nature. And some of the, what is the book of nature? When I refer to the book of nature, people invariably wonder where they might get a copy. Thus the question, what is in the world is the book of nature? First, the book of nature is a reference to general revelation. Special revelation reveals what God did to reconcile the world to himself. The Bible, general revelation, reveals what God has shown in creation. The book of nature, as King David puts it, The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hand, and their voice goes out to all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. Furthermore, the book of nature reveals God's invisible qualities. The Apostle Paul said exactly that. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, internal power, divine nature has been clearly shown, being understood from what has been made, so that man are without excuse. Romans 1:20. Finally, the book of nature are arguments, human reason through natural revelation. Indeed, it was failure to apply explanatory power of nature, revelation to the mystery of the universe that trapped pagan thinkers into the intellectual coup d'etat of their own making. Aristotle idolized the world in terms of how it ought to be. Augustine turned pages in the book of nature and discovered how it really was. Luther went so far as to say that any potter has more knowledge of nature than was written in the book of Aristotle. Suffices to say, Aristotle thought himself to be living in a quintessential age of invention and innovation, prejudice precluding the progress of science in place of rational God who orders the universe according to knowable principles. Socrates declared astronomical observations a waste of time, and Plato persuaded his devotees to leave the starry heavens alone, while obsession on astrology. They left astrology an unexplored domain. Astronomy an unexplored domain. Likewise, they mastered the magic of alchemy while remaining blithely ignorant of the majesty inherent in chemistry.